Welcome to this deep dive into the world of an American biker in another world. You've shared excerpts from the first three books.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, this is wild. We're following Preacher,
Yeah, it is.
a regular guy who loves his motorcycle more than life itself,
Right?
as he gets yanked from Earth and dropped into a realm
Yeah.
of magic, prophecies, and demi-humans.
It's a classic fish out of water scenario, but
Yeah.
what sets this apart
Yeah.
from your typical fantasy story
Yeah.
is that Preacher isn't your cookie-cutter chosen one.
Right.
He doesn't arrive with fanfare
Yeah.
or a destiny laid out for him.
Right.
In fact, he's pulled into this realm through a summoning ritual gone wrong.
Yeah, the mages were aiming for a hero, but they ended up with Preacher getting clocked by machinery thanks to some meddling from a royal mage named Elias.
Right.
Talk about a less than ideal welcome wagon.
It's almost comical,
Yeah.
but that mishap sets the stage for
Yeah.
a lot of the story's core conflicts.
Right.
You have Preacher, a human from a world without magic, thrust into the middle of a war
Yeah.
between humans and demi-humans, a war that's been raging for centuries.
And his first encounter in this new realm
Mm-hmm.
chained to a bed in the infirmary.
Right.
He meets Iris,
Yeah.
a fox-nosed woman who happens to be a slave working there.
Yeah.
She's the one who heals him.
Uh-huh.
But what's interesting is that she doesn't just patch him up.
Right.
She goes above and beyond, healing old wounds
Yeah.
and even enhancing his physical abilities.
I think that's a crucial detail to consider.
Right.
Why would Iris, a slave in a position of vulnerability,
Yeah.
risk so much to help a complete stranger?
Uh-huh.
It speaks volumes about her character
Yeah.
and might even foreshadow her role in Preacher's destiny.
Especially since she enhances his abilities before the whole blue flame prophecy kicks in.
Exactly.
Almost like she senses he's going to need every advantage he can get.
It's a subtle hint that Iris might be more connected to the forces at play
Yeah.
than she initially appeared.
Then there's that botched summoning ritual.
Right.
Wasn't a complete failure after all.
No.
While Preacher's unconscious, this ethereal blue flame appears, binding him to Iris
Yeah.
and jump-starting his latent magical abilities.
The ethereal blue flame prophecy.
Right.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
It's said to intertwine the destinies of those it binds, amplifying their power, even potentially making them soulmates.
Wow.
Right off the bat,
Uh-huh.
you have this fascinating dynamic between a human who doesn't even know he has magic
Right.
and a demi-human slave whose own power is suddenly magnified.
And it's not just a random prophecy.
No.
It binds them as husband and wife.
Exact.
Talk about an unconventional start to a relationship.
Yeah.
But their connection
Yeah.
quickly becomes a microcosm
Right.
of the larger conflict brewing in this world, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can humans and demi-humans truly coexist?
Aha.
That's one of the central questions this series grapples with. You have the Aslarian Empire, the human aggressors on one side,
Mhm.
and various demi-human races, beastkin, elves, goblins on the other.
Right.
Where does Preacher fit in all of this?
Yeah.
Being human,
Right.
everyone assumes he's on the side of the Empire,
Yeah.
but his bond with Iris and his growing empathy for the demi-humans suggest otherwise.
It creates this delicious tension, right?
It's
Especially when he tries to demonstrate his magical abilities and everyone's expecting fireworks.
Right.
He picks up that testing orb
Yeah.
and nothing.
Nothing.
Even the princess makes a snide remark about him not seeming like much of a hero.
But the key here is that his abilities manifest differently.
Yeah.
He can't wield traditional magic like those in this realm. He can only see magic.
Right.
It's like he has this sixth sense, this awareness of the magical energy flowing around him.
It makes for some amusing scenes like when Iris tries to hide her fox ears with magic.
Right.
And he can still see them.
Yeah.
But this ability to see magic, how do you think that will play into his journey as the story unfolds?
It's hard to say for sure,
Sure.
but I think it's significant.
Yeah.
It suggests he might be able to perceive things others can't, perhaps even hidden truths or manipulations.
Right.
It gives him a unique perspective on the magical world,
Yeah.
which could be a major advantage, especially given the political intrigue and hidden agendas at play.
And speaking of advantages,
Yeah.
the more time Preacher spends in this world,
Uh-huh.
the more his own unique abilities start to emerge, right?
They do.
Teleportation magic and
Yeah.
enhanced senses,
Yeah.
even this crazy ability to control plants,
Right.
which they call chlorokinesis.
Chlorokinesis.
Yeah.
We see him use it to hunt,
Mhm.
defend himself,
Yeah.
even build shelters.
It's almost like he's taking his knowledge of the natural world from Earth
Right.
and merging it with the magical possibilities of this realm.
Exactly.
Right. And remember that scene where he makes gasoline for his motorcycle?
Oh, yeah.
He pulls the necessary elements right out of thin air
Uh-huh.
by combining his memory of the chemical formula from a school textbook
Wow.
with his magic.
It's a fantastic example of how he's not just passively adapting to this new world,
Right.
he's actively shaping it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other Earth knowledge he might apply to this magical setting.
Right.
What potential breakthroughs or disruptions might he bring about simply by thinking differently?
And then there's the whole multiple wives situation.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your typical fantasy romance.
The blue flame prophecy doesn't stop with Iris.
Right.
As the story progresses,
Yeah.
Preacher ends up with multiple wives, each bound to him by that same ethereal flame.
Wow.
It's a trope that definitely raises questions, doesn't it?
It does.
Is it simply wish fulfillment,
Yeah.
a power dynamic,
Right.
or perhaps a commentary on societal norms?
It's certainly not something you see every day.
No, it's not.
But the story handles it in a surprisingly nuanced way.
It does.
Each wife represents a different faction in this realm,
Right.
which gives Preacher a unique position of influence.
It's almost as if he's unwittingly building a bridge
Right.
between these warring kingdoms through his relationships,
Right.
but it also creates a complex web of alliances and potential conflicts.
Yeah.
How does he navigate these competing loyalties?
Right.
And what does it mean for his own sense of identity and purpose in this new world?
Good questions.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to unpack those
Yeah.
as we dive deeper into the story.
Right.
But before we do, I want to touch on another fascinating element.
Okay.
The ancient ruins and the wormhole.
Uh-huh.
Preacher and his wives stumble upon these ruins that hint at a civilization with advanced technology,
Right.
possibly even connected to Earth.
Wow.
They even find a wormhole, a portal to other worlds,
Yeah.
including Preacher's own.
This discovery adds a whole other layer of intrigue to the narrative.
Right.
It suggests that Preacher's arrival in this realm might not be entirely coincidental.
Right.
Perhaps there's a deeper connection between Earth and this magical world than we initially realize.
Yeah.
And what about the implications of this advanced technology?
Right.
What happened to this civilization?
Yeah.
And what role might their legacy play in the conflicts unfolding in the present? It's like we're peeling back layers of a complex puzzle, and with each new piece, the picture becomes more intriguing. It makes you wonder if Preacher's journey is less about fulfilling a prophecy and more about unraveling these mysteries, both personal and historical.
Absolutely. And it's not just about grand discoveries and prophecies. We also see how Preacher navigates the more practical challenges of his new reality. Like,
Right.
how does a guy from Earth go about governing multiple kingdoms,
Yeah.
each with its own unique culture and political landscape?
Right.
It seems like a recipe for disaster, but somehow Preacher makes it work.
He does, and I think it's because of his pragmatism. He's not a warrior king or a grand sorcerer.
Right.
He's a problem solver at heart.
Uh-huh.
Remember that scene where he teleports his wives to the Beast King's castle?
Oh, yeah.
He bypassed all the traditional diplomatic channels and went straight to the source because he knew that face-to-face dialogue was the quickest way to address the growing tension.
It's like he throws out the rule book and just goes with his gut.
Yeah.
He sees a problem and finds the most direct solution,
Right.
even if it means bending the rules of magic or defying social conventions.
And that meeting with the Beast King
Yeah.
isn't just a political maneuver. It
Right.
reveals a deeply personal layer to the conflict.
Uh-huh.
We learn that Iris is not just some random slave.
Right.
She's the Beast King's granddaughter.
Wow.
Her mother, Freya, was a beast woman who fell in love with a human,
Right.
which caused a rift in the family.
Oh.
It adds this whole element of tragic romance and familial conflict to the narrative.
It's almost Shakespearean, right?
It is.
Star-crossed lovers,
Uh-huh.
family feuds, and the weight of history bearing down on the present.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how the story intertwines personal dramas with
Right.
these larger political conflicts.
And it humanizes the Beast King.
Uh-huh.
He's not just a fearsome ruler. He's a
Oh.
grieving father
Yeah.
who's lost his daughter and blames himself for not protecting her.
Oh, wow.
It adds depth and complexity to his character,
Right.
making him more sympathetic than we might initially assume.
It also underscores the deep-seated prejudice
Yes.
against humans and demi-humans intermingling.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about warring kingdoms.
Right.
It's about families torn apart by fear and hatred.
Precisely.
Right.
It challenges us to think about the roots of prejudice
Ah.
and how it can poison even the closest of bonds.
But in true Preacher fashion,
Right.
he doesn't shy away from that challenge.
No, he doesn't.
He convinces the Beast King that he genuinely cares for Iris
Mm-hmm.
and that he wants to help end the war, not perpetuate it.
It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
It sets the stage for an alliance between the Beast Kingdom and the Elven Kingdom,
Right.
both of whom have been victims of the Eslierian Empire's aggression.
And this alliance is about more than just military strategy.
Right.
It's about challenging centuries of ingrained prejudice
Exactly.
and demonstrating that unity is possible,
Uh-huh.
even between those who have been historically at odds.
Preacher's relationships with his wives, unconventional as they might be,
Yeah.
become a symbol of that unity.
Yeah.
They represent a merging of cultures, a coming together of different perspectives and experiences.
Right.
It's a powerful statement about the potential for love and understanding to bridge even the deepest divides.
And they're going to need all the unity they can get
Yes, they are.
because things get pretty intense in the second book.
Yeah.
Remember that corrupted artifact?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was planted by Morgul, the overarching antagonist,
Right.
and its effects are starting to ripple throughout the land.
We see this most vividly through Fenrir, the young werewolf who stumbles upon the artifact and is consumed by its dark magic.
Right.
He transforms into a monstrous beast driven by rage and a lust for blood. Preacher manages to cleanse him, but it's a stark reminder of the danger Morgul poses
Right.
and the insidious nature of his power.
It's like a virus corrupting
Uh-huh.
everything it touches.
Uh-huh.
But it's fascinating how Preacher's encounter with the corrupted artifact also unlocks a deeper level of his own abilities.
Right.
He doesn't just cleanse Fenrir,
Yeah.
he absorbs some of that corrupted magic,
Uh-huh.
which grants him visions of the past and a heightened awareness of the interconnectedness of everything.
It's almost as if he's becoming more attuned to the magical fabric of this realm,
Right.
able to tap into its history and energy in ways that no one else can.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what are the limits of his potential?
Yeah.
And how will this newfound power affect his role in the conflict with Morgul?
It seems like a double-edged sword.
It does.
He's becoming more powerful,
Oh.
but also a bigger target.
Right.
Elias,
Mhm.
the scheming royal mage who messed up the summoning ritual in the first place,
Right.
is still lurking in the shadows, trying to exploit the situation for his own gain.
Elias is driven by a combination of fear and ambition.
Yeah.
He fears Preacher's growing power and wants to control it.
Ah.
And he's ambitious, seeking to reclaim his former status and influence within the Eslierian Empire.
Right.
He represents the old guard, those who cling to power and resist change.
He even tries to capture Iris and turn her against Preacher,
Right.
which speaks volumes about his character.
It does.
It's a reminder that the fight for peace and unity isn't just against external forces,
Uh-huh.
it's also against those who seek to divide and conquer from within.
And let's not forget Preacher's other adversaries.
Right.
He encounters raiders terrorizing villages and even faces off against a corrupt baron who's been exploiting his people.
Oh.
These encounters highlight the systemic injustices that plague this realm
Right.
and underscore the need for fundamental change.
It's not all about magical duels and political maneuvering.
No, it's not.
It's about confronting the everyday realities of oppression and fighting for a better future.
And it's not just Preacher who's fighting these battles.
Right.
His wives are fierce warriors in their own right.
Yeah, they are.
Iris is skilled with a sword.
Uh-huh.
Seraphina is a master strategist.
Right.
And Angela, despite being a succubus,
Yeah.
has surprisingly strong morals.
They're definitely not damsels in distress.
No, they're not.
They're active participants in the fight,
They are.
each contributing their unique skills and perspectives to the struggle against Morgul and those who enable him.
They challenge the traditional roles often assigned to women in fantasy stories.
Right.
They're not just love interests or pawns in a political game.
Right.
They're leaders, warriors, and agents of change.
And their family keeps growing.
It does.
In the second book, Preacher takes on a fifth wife,
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia, a cat beast woman who's been observing him from the shadows. She's initially wary of him, but eventually recognizes his genuine desire for peace and joins his cause.
Sylvia's initial hesitation is understandable.
Right.
She's seen firsthand how humans can be manipulative and destructive,
Yeah.
but Preacher's actions, his willingness to fight for those who are oppressed,
Right.
eventually win her trust.
It's interesting how each new wife adds another layer to Preacher's understanding of this world
It does.
and his role in it.
Right.
They challenge his assumptions,
Uh-huh.
expand his perspectives,
Yeah.
and help him navigate the complexities of the political landscape.
And his powers continue to evolve as well.
Mhm.
He discovers that he can share his magical abilities with his wives through the bond of the ethereal blue flame.
Wow.
So not only are they linked by destiny,
Right.
but they're also becoming increasingly powerful as a unit.
It's like they're forming a superhero team.
That's a good way to put it.
They're more than just a family.
Right.
They're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But are they strong enough to overcome the challenges ahead?
That's the question looming over the second book.
Right.
By the end, Preacher has become a major player in the war,
Uh-huh.
uniting the Beast and Elven kingdoms
Uh-huh.
against the Aslarian Empire.
Wow.
He's not just fighting a war on the battlefield,
Right.
he's challenging centuries of ingrained prejudice and striving to create a new system of governance
Right.
that's more equitable and just.
It's a daunting task,
It is.
but his unwavering belief in humanity, both human and demi-human, drives him forward.
But there's a darkness looming.
Yeah.
The excerpts end with Preacher collapsing after an intense battle,
Oh.
weakened by the strain of using his powers.
Right.
We're left with a sense of uncertainty.
Mhm.
Will he recover?
Yeah.
Can he overcome the forces aligned against him?
Right.
And what about the prophecy of the seventh queen?
Right.
These questions linger as we enter the third book.
So we left Preacher on the ropes.
Yeah.
His powers depleted after an intense battle
Right.
while he recovers.
Yeah.
The political landscape he's trying to reshape
Uh-huh.
doesn't exactly pause for a power nap.
It's fascinating how the third book shifts the focus.
Right.
We've seen Preacher grappling with external conflicts, war, prejudice, manipulative mages.
Right.
Now the challenges become more internal, both
Uh-huh.
for him and for his wives.
It's like the honeymoon phase of uniting the kingdoms is over.
Right.
And now they have to figure out what this new world actually looks like.
Yeah.
Iris, for example,
Mhm.
is now queen of the Beast Kingdom.
Right.
But it's not all celebratory feasts and parades.
She faces pushback from nobles who aren't thrilled about their power being diminished.
Right.
She has to balance compassion with the need for order, which is a tightrope walk for any leader,
Yeah.
let alone one so new to the throne.
And she's also wrestling with the legacy of her grandfather,
Yeah.
the former Beast King.
Right.
It's almost like she's trying to reconcile his more traditional isolationist approach
Mm-hmm.
with this new vision of a unified realm.
It's a reminder that change,
Yeah.
even positive change,
Yeah.
can be disruptive and unsettling,
Right.
especially for those who've benefited from the old ways.
Meanwhile, Seraphina,
Yeah.
now queen of the Aslarian Empire,
Right.
is facing a whole different set of challenges.
She is.
She's basically tasked with reforming a system that's been built on conquest and oppression for centuries.
Wow.
Talk about an uphill battle.
She's dismantling the slave trade, establishing a new council,
Uh-huh.
even putting her own father,
Wow.
the former king, on trial for his crimes.
It's a bold move,
Yeah.
and it definitely ruffles some feathers among those who cling to the old power structures.
Does.
It takes guts to hold those in power accountable,
Yeah.
especially when it's your own family.
Right.
But it shows how committed she is to creating a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely.
And through it all, she's got the support of Preacher's other wives.
It's a testament to the strength of their bond.
Oh, wait.
They're not just wives.
Uh-huh.
They're a team, a sisterhood.
Yeah.
Working together to overcome these seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
And then you have Eloin in the Elven Kingdom,
Right.
the Elven Lords, known for their isolationist tendencies and suspicion of outsiders,
Yeah.
aren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat for Preacher and his vision of unity.
They see him as a disruption,
Yeah.
a human interloper meddling in their ancient traditions.
Right.
Elion's caught in the middle,
Yeah.
trying to bridge the gap between her husband and her people.
Right.
And she comes up with a brilliant solution,
Uh,
a trade agreement that benefits both the Elven Kingdom and the other two realms.
oh, wow.
It's a classic win-win scenario,
Right.
showing the Elven Lords that cooperation can bring tangible benefits.
It's a testament to Eloin's diplomatic skills and understanding of Elven culture.
It is.
She uses her knowledge to create a solution that respects their traditions.
Right.
While also paving the way for greater integration with the other kingdoms.
But even with all these positive development.
There's this lingering sense of unease.
Right.
Morgul's threat is still out there, And we finally get some answers about his motives in this third book.
Oh, really?
It turns out he's not just a power-hungry villain twirling his mustache.
Right.
He genuinely believes that humans are inherently destructive
Wow.
and pose a threat to the magical balance of the world.
Wow.
And his fears are, to some extent, validated by an event that shakes Preacher to his core.
What happens?
The destruction of the wormhole by the U.S. Air Force.
What?
Talk about unintended consequences.
Oh, wow.
They stumbled upon it while digging through that magical database they acquired,
Right.
and their reaction was, well, less than nuanced.
It's a chilling reminder of how easily good intentions can lead to disaster,
It is.
especially when dealing with forces beyond our understanding.
Right.
It also raises questions about the responsibility that comes with power,
Yeah.
both magical and technological.
And Preacher's past comes back to haunt him, literally. He starts having nightmares about his time as a biker gang leader.
Right.
The violence he both witnessed and participated in.
Oh, wow.
It's a stark contrast to the compassionate leader he's trying to be in this new world.
It adds a layer of moral complexity to his character.
It does.
It makes you wonder, can we ever truly escape the darkness of our past?
Right.
Or are we forever shaped by the choices we've made?
And then there's the arrival of Caliane, a
Oh,
woman from Preacher's past, who mysteriously appears in this realm.
wow.
She's connected to his biker gang days,
Right.
and her presence stirs up all sorts of unresolved emotions.
It complicates things on multiple levels.
It does.
There's the emotional baggage of their shared history,
Yeah.
the potential for conflict with his wives,
Right.
and even the ethical question of consent, considering the power dynamics at play.
Especially since she's clearly struggling with trauma and a sense of displacement.
Right.
Preacher feels responsible for her well-being.
Yeah.
But how does he balance that with his commitment to his wives and his new life in this realm?
It's a delicate situation with no easy answers.
It is.
It forces Preacher to confront his own past
Mm-hmm.
and make some tough choices about his future.
And then, as if things weren't complicated enough,
Oh, no.
two young girls from Earth,
Oh, wow.
Yukiko and Shizuku,
Uh-huh.
also appear.
And it turns out they're connected to the prophecy of the seventh queen.
Now, this throws a wrench into the works.
Right.
Preacher's fiercely protective of these girls.
Yeah.
And the idea of them becoming embroiled in the dangers of this realm,
Right.
potentially even becoming his seventh wife, fills him with dread.
Especially since they come from a world where polygamy isn't exactly the norm.
Right.
It creates this clash of cultures and values.
It does.
And it highlights the challenges of navigating relationships and expectations in a world where the rules are constantly being rewritten.
And let's be honest, the multiple wives trope can be problematic.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not handled with care and sensitivity.
Right. But in this series, I think it serves as a vehicle for exploring themes of cultural understanding, personal growth,
Right.
and the complexities of love in unconventional settings.
It's not about fulfilling some fantasy of a harem.
Right.
It's about how these relationships challenge Preacher's assumptions and force him to grow as a person.
And his wives aren't passive participants either.
Right.
They're strong, independent women who make their own choices and contribute to the story in meaningful ways.
Yeah, they do.
They're not defined by their relationship to Preacher.
Right. They're not just trophies or plot devices. They have their own agency, their own goals, and their own complexities.
He do.
And it's heartwarming to see them stepping up to support and guide the young girls, teaching them about magic and the importance of finding their own strength.
It's a beautiful example of women empowering each other,
Right.
creating a community of support and understanding in a world that can often feel hostile and unpredictable. So despite all the drama, all the looming threats and internal conflicts, there's still this underlying sense of hope.
Exactly. Preacher, despite his flaws and anxieties,
Right.
continues to strive to be a better leader,
Yeah.
a more compassionate person.
Yeah.
He confronts his past,
Right.
seeks forgiveness,
Right.
and dedicates himself to creating a world where everyone,
Yeah.
human and demi-human alike,
Right.
can live in peace and harmony.
It's a journey of self-discovery that resonates, I think,
It does.
with anyone who's ever tried to make a positive difference in the world.
Right.
He makes mistakes.
Yeah.
He doubts himself,
Mm-hmm.
but he never gives up on his ideals or the people he cares about.
And that's ultimately what makes the series so compelling. It's
Yeah.
not just a story about magic and adventure.
Right.
It's a story about the human capacity for growth, resilience, and compassion,
Yeah.
even in the face of overwhelming challenges.
You've been dropped into this whirlwind of a world.
Yeah.
You've seen Preacher's struggles, his triumphs,
Right.
and his unconventional family.
Takes quite a family.
What stands out to you? What would you do if you were in his shoes?
Right.
These excerpts give you a glimpse into a truly unique world,
Huh.
one that blends classic fantasy tropes with thoughtful explorations of social issues, ethical dilemmas,
Yeah.
and the power of human connection.
It's a great series.
I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely adding An American Biker in Another World to my reading list.
I think our listeners will really enjoy it.